Hello, Ilona. I hope that you're well. Welcome, everyone, to the Real Retail podcast. Today, I will be talking about a topic that is dear to my heart and that I love the most, which is related to pop up retail and pop up concepts. But this is the heart of our conversation today with Ilona. I am catching up with you from Paris. I believe that you're currently in Amsterdam. And I am eager to have you today with me. I'm eager to listen to what you have to tell us about the concept that you're currently running and everything that you have been doing lately. So, welcome, Ilona. The floor
Thank you
is
very
yours.
much. Thank you. Yes, so my name is Ilona Taillade, and Six and Sons is very near and dear to my heart because I've been working in pop-up for a very, very long time. I think it's been since 2007, so a very early starter. And Six and Sons is a project that we decided to do because I'm also a co-founder. So Leon Goldwater, who is the founder of We Are Pop-Up, which is a marketplace and a platform, basically a matchmaking platform. We create pop-ups together often, and my idea was to create a store that was a permanent pop-up. And this permanent pop-up is actually dedicated to sustainable entrepreneurs. So that's in a nutshell.
Okay, but if before going to discovering what the concept does and how it operates,
Mhm.
interesting to say that you started working in 2007. When you started back then, were customers aware and much enlightened about the idea of having pop-up stores around them? And did you see that there was a market need that you would want to tap into and present something different than was presented on the high street back then?
Let's let's just say that when we started in 2007, we were laughed at by property managers, by I'm not going to mention specific shopping centers, but let's say international shopping centers that pop up. What is that? Ephemeral. What is that? It doesn't exist and it shouldn't exist. So I'm from Australia, and in Australia, I think we were quite we started a lot sooner, and we get a lot of our information and the way that we do things from the US. So the US started, and they were long before that process. And so I would say that in 2007, even 2000, there were pop-ups in Australia. So I was familiar with them as a customer, and I just thought they were amazing. And from my perspective, I believe that it was a missing point, but from a very different point of view. So, in other words, just to make it more acceptable to understand the whole process of why we are even in retail, because it was also an incidental thing. My background is marketing and advertising, and part of the media, let's say, concept was that nobody really talked about doing anything in a store. And
Hmm.
from my perspective, I really didn't understand that. So what I noticed in Australia, that you'd get all these little pop-ups. Usually it was food related or season related. And what I realized that it was that FOMO effect, fear of missing out. And people really resonated with that. As soon as, a new coffee came in from Colombia or wherever, people would come and want to try it. Usually you had that sensory exchange. So you could smell it, you could see it, you could taste it, everything. So that's what I thought was missing from the media plan. You have print, you have television, and in this case now we've got offline and online. And from my perspective, I really felt that in Europe, it would be a really amazing opportunity to create a physical media channel. So that was kind of the point. So when we started in 2007, it was a joke. So
Hmm.
we had to really focus on what do we have to do to get the interest from the actual landlords, the property owners, And also, so we had, we were really at pioneer stage, and also from the brands themselves and the media managers that were doing advertising.
So very interesting that you say it, and I'm thinking about all of these questions. I mean, at the time the concept was created, it grew, it evolved. Naturally, it could have an organic development and growth to come to that form that you have today. But the idea of pop-up, as we might know it, starts as like filling that space for a temporary period of time with something, an event related to fashion, food, or others, and then that event will perish. So, how did the concept develop in 2007 and how it grew, and what shape does it have in 2024?
So 2007, it was literally more about kiosks and,
Mm,
let's say, the basic need to just sell things, more of them. So it's just, let's say, bulk and quantity. It wasn't really about creating experience. And for us, it was also that strange thing of, it should be about experience and it should be about brand awareness. So that was the key words, brand awareness. And we weren't very successful. I mean, going to be completely honest with you, it took us a long time. I would say another almost 10 years to actually get into the market.
mm,
And we always joke about it, but we got a PhD in pop-up world because we learned everything about the industry from what landlords expect, the kind of contracts you need to what we can offer the brands, the kind of or the type of pop-ups that you have, and also what you mentioned, which is what about creating, how do you actually start a pop-up, all these difficult things we had to master in order to bring that to the table. And we were basically starting off as consultants and not as a retailer understanding anything. So really consulting, explaining, fulfilling, but not actually. So we started with, let's say, finding locations, getting people on board. So that was the first point. And now we've sort of come full circle. We are now retailers, and that, I think, has been the biggest and the most rewarding way to understand what a pop-up is and how you can use it in the most effective way.
interesting. This being said, there is this challenge that the brands that are going to be hosted in your pop-up store also understand the real value of a pop-up model. Maybe today we are more acquainted as brands that there is this retail format, but a while earlier, we did not understand how to accommodate our concept, our product, and our offering in such a space that is not going to be enduring. And actually, there was this discrepancy between presenting products and selling them, or putting those products in an event location or this theatrical sensory location that will add value to what I'm selling. So, how did you eventually come across that equilibrium between brand and space and marrying them together in the best way possible?
I think everything comes from a problem, and the problem typically is, why do brands create pop-up in the first place? That's the first question. And then from the other point of view, what is the interest for a property owner to succumb to a short-term fix
Mm,
when they really, really want long-term? Because for them, the idea is, if I have long-term, I don't have to worry. But the way that we see things now is, especially with the digital age, people have short attention spans. And if you continuously do the same thing from a traditional point of view, it gets boring. And the idea is, how do we make it interesting and keep the momentum? And I think there's different uses of a pop-up. Sometimes it can be just for example, to sell excess stock. for example, you may have a company that's gone bankrupt. Another company decides to buy their stock. They want to get rid of all the stock. It becomes very low price. It's high value. That becomes interesting depending on what the product is. And that also becomes interesting for, like, you have all these, for example, the kilo vintage. There's lots of ways to convert that. It could be accessible, or from our point of view, it's about uncommon. And that's what we looked at for Six and Sons. It's our motto, in fact, is something that is uncommon. But from the point of view of having a pop-up that is doing well and explaining why it is going well for a brand is very different to a normal retail long-term relationship. It is very different. And the way that we sort of approach it, it's like this. This is a great analogy, I think. Long-term rent is a marriage. So who goes into a marriage these days without finding out if there's any good relationship in it? So what we're doing with pop-up is we're dating. We're checking if everything sort of goes into play. And dating is usually it's a lot of fun. That's when you sort of experience the most out of the person. So this is how we see it. We're dating, and if that location is suitable, and if you're getting the right kind of, it's not necessary that you always get a return financially. The return could be how that brand made that person feel when they came into the door. It's the interaction, it's the consumer response to the brand. So that there's so many things, yourself. There's so many things about pop-up and why we sort of went into it. But the most important thing is because it can be so much fun. It's always different. It's always, very unusual depending on the time of the year, whatever. So
interesting. Anyway, this idea of kindling that connection between brand customer right here, right now is always very exciting. So today, with your current business model, is there a specific way or route or façon de faire in French maybe that your brands or the brands that work with you have to abide by to integrate into your system? I mean, do you have every 6 months a call for new brands, or do you go and search for your brand when they arrive to you? How do they integrate into your systems? How do you accommodate them? So on and so forth.
Okay, so for the first point is, I would want to say why we have Six and Sons in the first place. What is the difference between Six and Sons and a normal store? Six and Sons is specific to sustainable entrepreneurs and then brands. We create not just the space for them to grow, but also the idea is that they premiere in our space. We want them not to be exclusive at all. The idea is that they start in our store and that all other retailers are able to discover them. So the way that we worked at the beginning was very different. So literally we were calling around, looking for basically curating the space by categories. And then when we found the right categories for the lifestyle kind of concept, we then were looking at, how many type. So it's I would say it was an organic composition, but it was also a strategy, because we needed to know which categories could actually work in the space that we had. And also very importantly to understand is each market, each city, each location is going to be different. So brands need to be aware of that. Like, for example, Amsterdam. I mean, depending on where you are in Amsterdam, you have a different type of target audience, and your product could do better on one side of the street than on the other side of the street. So all things are accounted for, and that's what we consider. So as an example, we decided we would have food and beverage as part of the category mix. So initially, we were looking for people. That was 5 years ago when we started, pre-COVID. Just before COVID started, we started our business, and we're still here. So that's a
The
good
good
sign.
thing.
But the point was, initially we searched, and now I have to say I'm inundated with brands who want to get into the store. And I think the reason that they want to be in the store is um, often it's the case of other brands, it's word of mouth, that they heard about it, they see that that brand is there, they also want to be there. But also we are an incubation hub. We are basically helping brands to connect. We create a community for them within our means, but we're also helping them to get into other retails. So an example we have, which is Chili Chan's. It's basically a hot oil, chili oil. She's in our store, but now she's in 25 other stores.
Hmm.
For us, that is the sign of success. It's not quantifiable, it's more the qualifiable point of people's recognition of her brand, and that she's actually gained that. She's an independent, but she also had a job on the side, and she stopped that job because she's able to do that now full time.
Interesting. Thank you for that. With this integration of a brand within a pop-up store, there is a great need for communicating. I know that people somehow come to learn about a concept, and if it's there, if it's changing, adding something new to the street or the high street, they will know that there is something happening there. But how did you integrate communications within all of this model?
Okay, so most people don't know it's a permanent pop-up, and they don't even associate it to a pop-up at all. So the brands who come in, they know it's a pop-up because they're trying to get into the store, and we explain to them that our business model is actually 3 months. You showcase your work. If it works out, then you can stay. That's how it works. So there isn't like a stretch of 6 months and then we pick a whole group of. It's very organic. Some people stay, some people leave, but everybody gets something out of it because our job is to tell the story. So we have to train our staff to tell the story. Their job is to connect and communicate with us efficiently during the period that they're with us, so that we can actually give them back the and help them test the location. So we give them back information on, what the consumer thought of it, whether there's any kind of ideas to enhance their product or service. So those are the basic things. For a customer who's walking past, we have quite a good recognition for, I would say, online, and the reason being that because we're uncommon, we have a lot of uncommon products.
Mm.
If you go to search, for example, for raw cacao, which is a wellness product, you will end up in Six and Sons. And that's kind of the point, that we try to work out what is it on trend, but very much about social community featured products and services, and then we connect. So a lot of strategy involved with offline and online. And again, if you're just walking past the shop, we really use our window space. So for us, visual merchandising is exceptionally important, to say the least. And that
Interesting.
and the omni-channel connection is also highly, well, it has to be very important in the way that we communicate on social and our website.
And this being said, does your website offer the possibility of doing any transactions? The brands that come and show in the store also have the opportunity to show their products online?
Yes, so basically we are a platform, offline and online. The term that I know you use and we've been using from the beginning, which is phygital. I wouldn't say it's omni-channel because it's very different to omni-channel in my mind. Phygital is more that there's a presence both online and offline, and they're not exactly the same. And but they give you all the information that you need about the brands. And we do showcases and exhibitions and etc. and events in the retail space, but you can also get that information online.
Okay, interesting. This opens up on the question that I wanted to attend to, which is exhibitions, activities, events that you do in store. This is becoming more and more of the norm in retail and pop-up retail, especially. What types of events do you have? Are there specific events that you absolutely need to have each time you add on a new retailer, let's say, on an or an addition? Or do you also curate your events based on the nature of the bouquet that you have inside the store at a certain moment?
Okay, so we believe that events is again a integral part of our pop-up, and I don't think that it's important for every single style of pop-up. It is for ours, for Six and Sons, it's important. So when we take on a brand, most of them are local or European. We request that they do what we call meet the maker. So that is an important way for our team to get the story from the independent designer or artist. And it also means that they can directly contact the customer and can see how that interaction takes place. Typically, we're talking about a day. It's not even a day, maybe 3 hours. So meet the maker is a prerequisite of what we expect. If they're not physically in the store, then we'll do it on their behalf as a group activity. For example, what I mentioned to you before about chili sauces, yesterday we had 7 chili sauce makers together, and it was like having a market in store. So that was a lot of fun. Or we what we're known for is probably cacao ceremonies, which doesn't sound like an event or an exhibition, but it is because what we're doing is we have Ruma Cacao, which is a brand that is staple in our store. It is based on ceremonial cacao, which is something where you interact with other people. You have to buy a ticket for it. It's a 2-hour event where you sit down and it's basically self can we say this, self therapy with the use of cacao. So you're interacting, and that's what we've been known for.
Okay, interesting. So there is this social dimension of interactions and interchange that not only puts the product forward, but a holistic setup in how we use it, the benefits on our
Exactly.
consumption, and so on. Interesting. And the final maybe point that I would like to ask is that related to consumers and consumer behavior. Naturally, with all of this experience, you have also observed how consumers have changed behaviors towards these types of stores and have also shifted their attention to specific ways of doing shopping in different places. So how do you see today customers in your store and how well they appreciate your concept?
So the first thing that happens when someone walks into our store, which I think is very different to most stores, is that we make them feel like they're at home. So we welcome them instead of just saying hello to them. We welcome them, and often, of course, to every single person is different. But let's say the majority of people are open for discovery. So when they come in, we tell them or ask them, do you know the concept of the store? And 90% of the time they don't, if they're not reoccurring customers. So we basically explain to them the concept of the store, that it is about sustainable products, that it is about independent designers, that we are here to support them. And you just see their faces light up like, wow, seriously, I can't believe it. And we tell them, that there's 150 right now and it's reoccurring. So there's different, you have permanent and they're like, wow. They're so excited. It becomes like, an event for them to be in the store. And then if we have enough staff, because it takes time to do this, we guide them through the store. And if they have questions, we actually tell them the stories of the brands. So that is the biggest differentiator in that we are actually walking them through an experience that is very different to a typical store.
And this being said, do you believe that this method has an impact on sales or maybe on their actions throughout the store? Yeah.
100%. An example would be you would have, for example, a daughter that comes in. She discovers cacao. She discovers that we have pottery made locally. She makes the purchase. So really, we are a gift store. In essence, we are a gift store. She takes the product home. She sends it to her parents who live in the United States, and then they're buying the cacao and pottery from us in the United States.
Interesting.
So they've never been in our store, but indirectly they gain insight on what we're doing, and then they're coming to see us the following year to see what is the store about. And that's a recurring theme that happens, that a lot of people are acquainted with our store through their friends and family.
Oh, very, very nice. I mean, what a better way or better reward than this type of behavior in store. Very interesting. Thank you, Ilona. I think that I had asked all of the questions that I had in mind, but are there other points that you would like to discuss and that we didn't have the chance to talk about?
Yeah, I would like to say that pop-ups seem to be a very easy thing to do, but they're not. And from a point of view, like we are basically like a mini department store. We're what we call you've got shop in shop, what we call it shop share. I mean, in essence, we're sharing everything together. So it is really about building a community. And when I hear brands say, "Oh, we'll just create a pop-up," it's not, you can't just, we'll just create a pop-up unless you just want to flog stock, which is, it's not ideal for brand recognition. The other side of things is to create what we have as Six and Sons. The back end, you need to also think about the back end. I mean, we need to let all of our brands know that they've made sales. Then we need to make sure that they're paid. Then we need to make sure that they're part of the events that we organize. So in essence, we have become not just a media channel, but we're basically doing online, offline. We're doing inventory. So it's like having 5 or 6 businesses in one.
Right.
So it's quite a long and but we're building, and this is the interesting part. Because it's a permanent pop-up, it is a long-term venture. But what we've been able to do and consider is how to build these tiny little pop-ups, because each brand that's doing a pop-up, some of them don't last that long, but the kind of experience that they gain is amazing for them to go into another place. The other thing that's important, I think, is cultural differences. As you probably know, doing something that's in France or doing something in Sweden or in Italy, you have to have a very different way of presenting and a communication behind what you're doing. So I think for us, we're still evolving. But my feeling is that pop-up is going to be essential as part of growing brands, growing the experience, getting the information from what works and what doesn't work, so testing the market. But from a point of view of the property owners, it's literally creating that lifestyle magazine concept where people can walk in and discover things. And who wants a vacant shop? And there's so many now because of all the things that are going on. If you can create a pop-up or you can accept a pop-up, I think generally everyone feels a difference when there's something new that comes into the market.
Right. We cannot but see the positive effects that it has on the high street, that creating that novelty, excitement, and change, and all the good that it could benefit several parties each time it is there. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ilona. How, if you'd like to share, how can people get in touch with you if we want to, social media platforms and the website?
So you can get in contact with Six and Sons on Instagram, where we post quite regularly. Also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. From a point of view, if you're a brand and you want to get in contact with me directly, or by email on hello@Six and Sons. So there's plenty of different ways to get together and discuss things.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Good luck with the rest. I'm sure that there will be also new things to think about for the future. And I wish you all the best with this. Thank you so much, Ilona.
Thank you.